Mother Nature wept on Sunday with Jose Ramirez's injury. Postpones the Guardians game against the Tigers to September. We'll talk about how life is going to look for the Guardians for the next month or two without Jose Ramirez on today's show.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Guardians won this weekend. The Guardians lost this weekend. The Guardians won their games this weekend, but they sure lost a heck of a lot. We're going to cover it all on today's show. Domination of the Tigers. They won the two games. They continue to be good in that area. We'll discuss those. We'll talk about long-term and short-term roster decisions in wake of the Jose Ramirez injury and other injuries, as well as other roster machinations. But we start today's show, Jeff. How to survive without Jose Ramirez on Locked On Guardians, your only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast that covers your team every day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. That, of course, is my very patient co-host, Jeff Ellis, who has been here for 8 years. I probably just aged him a little bit more than that tonight. I'm Justin Lada. I've been here for 4 years with Jeff. Maybe this is my last show with Jeff. We've both been covering the Guardians minor league system and the draft for 19 years. And I want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, like the Guardians. That is why you should get Odoo. Try her free today at odoo.com/lockdown. That's odoo.com/lockdown. Now I'll let Jeff tell you why I'm an idiot.
No, here's the thing. So the nice thing, so this becomes about me for a second, is what really annoys people about me is I get stuck in my ways and I don't get too high and I don't get too low. Like I'm like, okay, let's be more patient. Or I'm like, well, this is the, I've always
that's why you're
been,
a teacher and a parent.
and I've always been a bit of a doubter with Valera. So like that's why when we get to segment 2 and 3 here, I'll talk about the why of that. Justin accidentally deleted the episode, so this is our take 2 on it. It happens. Life happens. We make mistakes. We move on. And he's beating himself up. So what I want everyone to do is make a nice comment for Justin below. Say your favorite thing about Justin, because he's going to need to see that tomorrow, because he is beating himself up badly for having deleted the episode. But it's okay. It's summer. This is my first week without school. I can fiddle with things a little bit more. I just got to get my kids off to camp in the morning. And then I'm going to mow the lawn. It's fine. I love mowing the lawn. So I've got a nice, easy, keel day to start. And then it's draft capsules after that. But with this team, now we've pulled back the curtain. Now let's pull the curtain the other way. Jose Ramirez, it stinks, right? Like this is a situation, and I wish I remember the exact word because I really liked what I had, but I'm old, so I forget things now. It's, this isn't a loss of that I feel like it hurts. It's bad. It's not
so it's less punitive.
There we go. That's what it is. Thank you. I don't feel like this is as punitive and recent as it would be like last year or the year before because of Jose's struggles. I also think it's like, I don't know if fun's the right word. I find it interesting that the 2 years that he has had really bad for Jose, bad first halves of the year, 2019 and this year, are the years he breaks his hamate bones. I think that's just kind of a weird little, this world might be a simulation type of moment that we're seeing this weird connective point. But the reason I say it's not as punitive is, first off, let's talk about the defense side of it. Like Jose has been by outs above average and a lot of advanced metrics, stays a really strong defender at third base. But I do think with what we saw, I mean, Gabby graded out as an excellent defender at shortstop. You take a shortstop skills and move him to third base, and then specifically with that arm, I think he has a chance to be a better defender at third. This has a chance to help the pitchers. It may not be at first because he's kind of learning that position, the everyday of it on the fly. But I think when you're looking at, the defensive side, now offensively, Jose is at a 113 WRC plus, I believe. That is hard to make up, and they're not going to make it up. You're hoping, for those who don't know, that means he's been about roughly 13% better in league average. Normally, though, he's close to 30%. So of any year, this is the year where it might hurt them the least to be a 90 or an 85 at third base instead. And I know everyone looks at the numbers, and I've looked at them too. It's like, well, the offense isn't that improved from a year ago. But I say hold on there a second, because the offense being similar to a year ago, but slightly better, is amazing because Jose has been, not Jose, and Stephen Kwan has been one of the worst players in baseball. Our friends over at TJ Stats, who we use their website all the time, it's like he just posted today, like lowest OPSs in baseball, and Stephen Kwan was still the third lowest. Like he's had some moments, but it's still been a struggle. So this offense is somehow slightly better than a year ago with Jose not being Jose and Kwan being one of the worst hitters in baseball. Like, that's an accomplishment. And those pieces on the sides, they do have to pick up the slack now. But I think they can deal with this situation better than in years past, because heck, a year ago, Gabby was your shortstop. You wouldn't have had him for third base. You would have been really stuck. And I think, again, he can provide maybe better defense. And offensively, you're not going to get that, but you need to hopefully get somewhere approaching. And, I know I talked about this in segment 2 in our last show. I'm going to talk about right here up front in segment 1, that I know people are going to be like, oh, he's not going to learn the position, or, oh, because he's, people love to say that Gabby doesn't hustle, which blows my mind, because do we really think Jose Ramirez is going to take and tolerate and talk positively about guys who don't hustle? Like, Jose has talked glowingly about Rocchio and Arias over the years. Do we really think Austin Hedges is a guy who sits back and deals with lack of hustle? No. So, Gabby's going to put in the time. He's going to get better at the position. He's going to be fine there. I don't understand how anyone thinks that Jose Ramirez and Austin Hedges would tolerate guys who sit there and don't play hard or don't try hard. Like, that's not how. Those two guys have killer instincts to such a degree that they could be in that old video game. They could be right there with Kilgore. That's the only guy I can remember from that game. There's a girl who turned into a tiger or a panther, but I don't remember her name. But those guys would not tolerate loafers and guys who don't try hard. So I believe Gabby will be an excellent defensive third baseman. Offensively, we'll see. I will also say, before he went on the disabled list, he was doing the same thing Rocchio was doing, which was he was not expanding the zone. It's the same thing that allowed Angel to be great, right? Like that improvement. Like, I'm not saying that Gabby's going to be great, but I'm saying maybe he can approach league average, because if he can keep what he was doing, I think there's a chance, especially because of, like I said, Jose's levels.
Yeah, it's definitely been a down year for Jose offensively. Maybe the wrist was hurting him a while. Like, maybe that's possible. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to hurt offensively. I think it's going to hurt emotionally too. Like, yeah, offensively, he's still a good player. He's not just up to Jose standards, but I think it's going to hurt emotionally as much. I mean, first of all, it just stinks that you don't get to watch Jose Ramirez play for what we think is going to be anywhere between 1 to 2 months. So Vinny Pasquantino of the Royals had hamate surgery on Sunday morning, and they're calling him out 4 to 6 weeks. Jose, when he had this surgery in 2019, he was projected to be out 5 to 7 weeks. Came back in 4. Now, part of that, when he came back in 4, was due to the fact there was no minor league games to play at that point in the season. It was September, so he couldn't go on a minor league rehab assignment at that time. All the affiliates were done, which is why you see AAA playing the same length of schedule now, or the same length of time as the majors, so they can have those opportunities available. But also, the Guardians were trying to make a playoff run. It was late in the season. They were looking up at the playoff standings, so he came back early. And he did Jose things. Like, he came back and he had a grand slam in his first at bat, and then he had threw at home run his second at bat. And unfortunately, he didn't play again after that the rest of that year. He had to sit the rest of the year because the hand soreness was just so bad that he just could not continue to play. So he came back, hit 2 home runs, drove in 7 RBI, and then he had to call it a season, and the Guardians didn't make the playoffs, or the Indians back then, whatever. So I think it's probably fair to say this might be more 5 to 7 weeks for him, because it's been 7 years, right? So he's older. You want to be more careful in that regard. And we're at the middle of the season, so there's not as much of a rush to push him back as it was at that time. And he's going to try to come. Let's be honest. He is going to try to do everything in his power to be back in a month. Like, he's going to have the surgery sometime this week. If you look up after the All-Star break and he's trying to come back, like the week of the All-Star break, they'll probably stop him. I hope they stop him. I think it's probably safe that they hold the 5 to 7 week timeline. So it's at least a month, if not longer. And that stinks. It stinks for the offense. It stinks for the fans. It stinks for Jose, because Jose was so close to getting the 300 homers and all these milestones that he's accomplishing. And he wants to be on. I mean, the guy tried to play. He knew that the Guardians were, we'll talk about this more, but the Guardians were down and out 2 outfielders, right? Already they were low on bench players at that point in the game. And he tried to go back out until his next at bat. Couldn't even close his glove, like, with his hand. It was so sore. He couldn't even close his glove. So that's just the kind of player Jose is. So you hate to see this for anybody and for him, but there are bits of upside which we can talk about. I shouldn't say upside. I don't think there's any upside to this. I think it's silver linings. So we'll touch on the silver linings. I'll tell you why the areas where it's going to be hard on the Guardians. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other roster moves that they did or didn't make this weekend, that why they make sense or why they don't make sense. We'll talk about the games too. The Guardians played 2 very good games against the Tigers, and they beat Tarek Skubal, which is always an accomplishment in and of itself. So we've got a lot here to cover on the second try at today's episode.
But first, throughout the NHL finals, every shift matters, every moment is intense, and everything comes down to execution when the pressure is at the highest. And just like athletes must be ready to perform when the puck drops, a lot of guys want the same sense of readiness and confidence in their own lives too. That's where Rougier comes in. Rougier offers modern performance-focused treatments designed to help you be ready when it matters. Their top option, Rougier Ready, is a fast-acting, clinically formulated treatment that comes in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It's designed for convenience with fast absorption and effects that can begin in 15 minutes and may last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, which is formulated to support both performance and control for longer lasting needs. It's about helping guys feel prepared, confident, and in control. In the playoffs, readiness isn't optional, it's everything. And for a lot of guys, the idea of being ready at the right moment carries over into everyday life. That's exactly what Rougier is built around. Hey, they're talking NHL playoffs. We just saw the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Golden Knights, who looked more like the Golden Page Boys in this series. The hard slap shots by the Carolina, some weak wristers with Vegas. We saw the importance of hitting hard, going to the net, hitting the crease. See the importance of all of those things with Rougier. Head to Rougier.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougier, performance medicine for men.
And if you're following along, the biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has potential for a memorable moment. One goal completely can change the game, and the energy, shift momentum, alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. Now, FanDuel is giving fans like you a reason to stay locked in every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals mean more bonus bets. All you got to do is turn on your token. I'm not going to pretend to give you any soccer advice in the World Cup, so go check that out over there. But I will say, despite the injury to Jose Ramirez, the Guardians are still minus 160 to win the American League Central, so the odds still favor the Guardians. People believe in the Guardians still winning this division without Jose Ramirez. And if you're looking for some college baseball, the Tar Heels are favorites to win the College World Series. From opening whistle to final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Appreciate everybody who is tuning in to Locked On Guardians today and every day, making us your first listen wherever you get podcasts. We do appreciate each and every one of you. It makes it worth doing this podcast, Jeff and I, even if we have to record it twice. We do enjoy talking Guards ball with all of you and each other every single day. If you are here every single day and you enjoy Guards ball talk, you can check out the Everydayer Club that gives you access to all the ad-free episodes of each episode on your audio platforms. It also gets you access to the private listener group chat over on Discord, where Jeff and I are hanging out. Other fans of the Guardians and listeners of the show are hanging out. And there's a channel on that Discord for every single Locked On show, the hosts, the fans of those teams. You can also take advantage of as well. And you can do all that over at LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com, or you can check the link in the show notes. And right now you can get a 7-day free trial anytime when you sign up. So go ahead and enjoy that and check that out right now. So we were talking before about, yes, offensively, Jose Ramirez is having a non-Jose Ramirez year. And you even said, like, Gabriel Arias, I think the platoon right now is going to be mostly, I would say 70-30 Arias Schneemann, right? I think that sounds about right. 70% Arias, because, Schneemann's got to play other positions, and there's really nobody else. But the things you're losing, like, yes, defensively, I don't think you'll lose anything. Obviously, we know they're not going to make anything up offensively. I think the hard part here to replace is base running. Nobody runs the bases like Jose Ramirez. I think last check, he's still leading the AL in stolen bases if he's not second place. That's going to be hard to replace, and that's something even with his offensive struggles, he is still running a ton, and he still runs the bases very well. So Gabriel Arias, unfortunately, is not going to replace that. There is nobody who can replace that part of Jose. And I think just like you said, the lineup is better than it was a year ago. Sometimes it's like, anywhere between 15 and 25 or 22 in most categories. So they have their ups and downs. They are a better offense than a year ago, but they still have some volatility. So there's the truth somewhere in the middle there. And having Rocchio hit second behind Bazzana, that's going to hurt the length of your lineup a little bit. Vogt talked about how he didn't want to move Rocchio out of the 9 spot because it was working so well, turning the lineup over to Bazzana and Jose. Now you don't have that luxury. So this shrinks the lineup a little bit. It's going to hurt. They're going to need to pitch better. They're going to need to play better defense all around. Hopefully, Arias will help that. We'll talk about the outfield here in a second, but and I know you mentioned Jose still going to be around. He's still going to be here and not let people slack off. He's going to make sure people are still all pulling their weight while he's out, and he said he believes in them while he's out. The good thing for Jose, I suppose, is that he has done this before, right? He's had to have the surgery. He knows what the rehab is like. Nobody's going to work harder in rehab. The Guardians will probably have to, help himself as far as staying off the field too soon. But it gets him a little bit of rest. Jeff, we were talking last week about how Jose doesn't rest a lot. It's a DH days even when he doesn't play the field. Maybe he comes back at the end of the comes back from this in the end of the season. He's got fresher legs. That could help too. So those are the silver linings. But it's still going to be hard in the short term to replace his presence in the lineup, whether it's intentional walks, just lengthening the lineup, and then his base running. That's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, like I said, there's no way around it. Even if, like I said, even if Gabby comes in and performs at his best, I still think, you're looking at league average, and Jose at his worst, which, we'd argue this year has been his worst so far, was still, a 10 to 13% better in league average. That's impossible to fix. And you're right, Gabby is not a great base runner, so that is going to be an issue in terms of that. And then, just the lineup feels weaker, right? Like there's no way around it because it is weaker. So when you're looking at it, like it's impossible to replace him. I went through and I was like, okay, let's look at players who, how many third basemen are above average, like over a 100 WRC plus. It's a weak position. There's only like 8 guys who play every day who are able to do that. And then you want to find one who's good offensively and defensively, you're probably only looking at 5. Then you want one who runs well, you're probably looking at 2 to 3. So it's an impossible situation. Looking at who could fill in, I did kind of feel like, oh, well, I guess there's a logic to sticking with who you have, letting Gabby play, because at least you can maybe get elite defense that way. And then you get Jose back, and it's better than any addition you could get by a trade. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think this team still needs to be active at the trade deadline and before, but they're going to get a chance to get some pretty massive reinforcements between hopefully a trade deadline move as well as getting Jose back. And I think with the way he is with baseball, he's not going to be able to stay away from this team, and they're not going to be able to keep him away. And if they're smart, they'll let him go on as many road trips as he wants to go on. They will let him basically be with the team in the dugout because that's where he wants to be anyways. I feel like he does not want to sit at home and recover. As soon as they let him, he is going to be in the dugout with this team, and he's going to be an additional coach, and he's going to find ways for her to get his energy formulated to still help this team win. And again, back to what I said last time, anyone who thinks that, someone can be lazy and play on a team with Jose Ramirez, I don't understand that. Jose and Hedgie aren't going to let you do that. So Jose is going to work these guys even harder since he doesn't have to work on his own skills and traits. He's going to be out there, being his own, he has a good sense of humor, and we know that, and he likes to be at the center of things, and he's going to continue to do that. It's an impossible situation, but this injury in particular, I know people were very confused by some of the roster decisions they made, but with Gabby Arias and Schneemann splitting time at third base, that means whoever isn't playing is your backup infielder. That means you look at Angel. He's no longer a center fielder. He was bad at it. When he's healthy, he's in the corners. Chase is definitely in the corners. They had to keep Stuart Fairchild because the Jose injury all of a sudden limited, the availability for Schneemann to be a center fielder. They needed someone who could cover all 3 spots. Right now, that's Quan and it's Fairchild. And Quan is going to play every day. I know people have asked, can they send him down, this and that. Quan is not. They are loyal to their vets, and I believe he has enough service time at this point that he could probably refuse assignment. So
yes,
that is silly because he could refuse the assignment. So they needed Fairchild, which is why he is still here. Fairchild would be gone if this injury didn't happen. He'd be gone when Arias came up, but because they needed him, that's why. And it speaks volumes that they let Valera go, and we'll kind of get into that more in segment 3. But they needed a center fielder, and it's not like they're keeping him so Stuart Fairchild can play a ton. Yeah, he's going to play versus lefties, but that's about it. Like, they needed someone who could handle 3 spots, in spite of his miscue over the weekend. Like, he is known primarily as a defensive first guy.
Yeah, I think for sure Stuart Fairchild was going to be the guy let go or DFA'd for Arias to come back. I mean, Arias played 1 game in the outfield in his rehab stint, and then he was in the lineup on Sunday, or I should say Saturday, for Columbus at, I think, at third, I want to say. And then he got pulled because after that injury, and he came back, and he was supposed to play third on Sunday before the rain out, which we can also talk about because that could have been handled a little bit better. Not a way to endear ourselves to the organization, even though people think we already get paid by the organization. But the rain out call could have been handled a little bit better. But that's a different story. But yeah, Arias was going to get a chance to come back and be utility guy and spell Jose at third base and also play some outfield, which would have made Stuart Fairchild vulnerable and off the roster. But unfortunately, the injury dictated a different way to sculpt the roster. And we'll talk about why Fairchild's still here, why Valera's not. And we'll also talk about the wins over the weekend, too. The Guardians did win 2 games. They played very well. They beat Tarek Skubal, which is never a bad thing. They did some really good things over the weekend, and that should make them feel good. And there are some other things, too, that can make them feel good. So we'll get into all of that here on the rest of Locked on Guardians.
Baseball players are known for their routines, whether it's a lucky jersey, a pregame ritual, or sticking to the same preparation every day. Consistency matters. And when it comes to hair thinning, there can be a lot of products out there making promises, but not always a lot of confidence behind them. That's why more people are looking for solutions backed by real science and trusted experts. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand and the official hair growth partner, of Major League Baseball. What really makes Nutrafol stand out is it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. This is designed to fit into your routine while addressing the root causes of thinning with personalized solutions. And what they say there is what stands out and matters to me. If I'm going to buy something like this, if you're going to spend the money on a product, you want to make sure that it is physician formulated and clinically tested. You want to make sure you have that. You want to look at the stats. You want to know why it's going to be successful for you. Find out why Nutrafol is the only hair growth supplement brand trusted by the MLB. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter that promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. You have one app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales. Somehow, none of them are talking to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory, marketing, everything is going to work in one place. Help your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing your business instead of managing different pieces of software. The best organizations know success is not just about talent, it's about having everyone work to the same goal. That's true in sports, just like it is in business. We know the Guardians are going to have to really work together to succeed without Jose Ramirez on the staff. That means everybody's got to come together and push towards the same goal and trust each other and make sure everyone's talking to each other. That communication becomes a big component for the Guardians. Great organizations win because operations matter. That's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's ODOO.com/lockedon. Well, Jeff, we sure talked a lot of Lockdown, or a lot of Guardians over the last week, right? We had our regular 5 episodes. We had the bonus show about the Daniel Schneemann call up on Friday. Fortunately, didn't get to pitch. Then we had reaction videos to the wins over the weekend, the injuries over the weekend, the new roster news over the weekend. And if you hit the bell on YouTube and you subscribe, you would have been notified of when those videos were posted, so you can keep up with all the news and all the goings on. And if you also auto download on all of your audio platforms, you keep showing your feed too, because that bonus show about Daniel Schneemann also showed up in your audio feed too, which a lot of you listen to. And thank you for all of that. So those are all the best ways to keep up with Guardians news and the show, because we're here every day talking about it, and we do it for you. We enjoy it. But we do it for you. And,
it's all for you, Damien. Get the reference. Comment below.
I don't know that one, but I mean, hey, we're doing it twice in a night. Just again, like we recorded 2 episodes Friday and recording 2 episodes now. Only one's going to make the light of day, but the other one's out there floating in cyberspace somewhere. So yes, I know a lot of people were not thrilled with Stuart Fairchild still being here and Valera being gone. The issue with Valera is, I know you mentioned it before, like he couldn't play center field. He's a platoon hitter.
Can't even play right field, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's a platoon hitter at this point, and yes. Things were not going well for him at AAA. He's had a lot. I know he hasn't had a lot of major league run, but he had enough where it was not. I shouldn't say he's even had a lot of major league run. I think this was the least. Go back to the word you used, punitive. This was the least significant roster move for them to make in wake of having to add Arias back to the 40-man roster, because I guess the good news is you didn't put Jose in the 60, right? So that doesn't, you don't need to worry about that to clear a spot. So hopefully he's coming back before then, because 60 days would be 2 months, and he might move there at some point. We'll see what happens. They're not going to do it initially. But yeah, like that, not keeping Valera tells me that maybe they're not as concerned about DeLauter's injury. Hopefully he's okay. We'll find out more on Tuesday, because the Guardians are off on Monday. I know Angel's fine. He was supposed to be possibly available off the bench on Sunday, and they think he'll be good to go on Tuesday. So the rain out and the day off does help everybody, I would say, especially the bullpen, which we'll talk about in a second too. But they moved Jones to open up time in the outfield for Cooper Ingle and Ralphie Velasquez. And I think, George Valera might clear waivers anyway. This may not matter.
Yeah.
But clearly they don't believe in Valera as a guy who, like, Valera, if you're going to call Valera up, he's somebody who's going to play against right-handers every day and sit against lefties. There wasn't a spot on the roster for that if DeLauter and Martinez are okay. There is a spot for Fairchild, who can play against some lefties, doesn't have to, and then can pinch run and play defense. That spot's not Valera. So it's two different asks of two different players. But Valera has struggled at AAA. He's not even playing well at AAA. It's a good ball. It's a good hitter's ballpark. It's a good hitter's environment. He's repeating the level. He's older. He's been there before. He's not playing all that well.
And I'll put this out. Like, so it's a hitter friendly environment. It's been for his whole time in AAA.
Pitching is bad down there, by the way.
It's bad. His slash line is 238, 341, 427, 768. Stuart Fairchild at the other side of it, 281, 384, 500, 884 at AAA over 5 seasons. And in those 5 seasons, Fairchild's actually had less games than Valera. Valera's had 268 games. He has only had 1 season in AAA with an OPS above 800. And again, this is a level where Wilson dominated, Nolan Jones dominated, Stuart Fairchild dominated. The bigger problem for Valera this year is the fact that Rhys Hoskins was good, because Hoskins and Valera are redundant, because that's really his best position, is the platoon right-handed. And I know people be like, Hoskins is hitting under 200. He is, but he's getting on base. He's hitting home runs. He has not been the problem. I mentioned this last show, and I forgot to bring it up so far, but bring it up. Stuart Fairchild also allows a better opportunity to have Cooper Ingle on this team, because Cooper Ingle did play outfield in college. He played it, all the way through, but he hasn't played it in a while. So you want to have someone who can tag in, a solid defender late in the game, in case you're like, okay, Cooper Ingle is still relatively new to playing this position again. You want someone who can, and specifically tag it in center, move Quan to left field, because left field is tricky here. Like we saw that with Hoskins, and you want someone who can, and that's really what it came down to. Valera cannot, he's a bad defender at any outfield spot. The only guy who can really handle center is if you went and got Watson. But you don't want to bring up Treel Watson to have him ride the bench and play in specific situations.
Exactly.
If you're getting Watson, it's for him to play every day. You need someone who could play 3 outfield spots, and you were okay if they were playing 1 or 2 times a week. The only guy for that is Stuart Fairchild. There's no one else who fits
or
that
Halpin,
need.
but
Halpin.
He's left.
But then he's redundant. So as you mentioned, it's
yes.
The only way he's playing in this case, Fairchild, is when there's a lefty on the mound. This was not worth being upset about.
Defense.
Yeah, and like I said, I think there's a big need around baseball for outfielders, so maybe Valera gets claimed, but I think there's also a decent chance he passes through waivers, because there's so much data of him kind of being a below average hitter. He expands a bit. He points. I've wondered if there's a hole in his swing just because of some of the easy misses in the zone he's had. He's a great player. He was a great prospect, I should say. Sorry. He's a great prospect who's been really well known because he's been in this system for 8 seasons. But like, this is also a guy that they took off the roster before and he passed through waivers unclaimed. And there's reasons for that. Like, teams could have had him when he was a 24-year-old. And yeah, last year in Columbus, he had last year was the only year he had an 803 OPS. It's the only time above 800. That was in 28 games. So he just hasn't done it. And you can't be limited defensively. You can't be unable to hit lefties and have a role on a team.
Yeah, but he's a platoon player. He can only hit righties, and the data against right hitters in the minors was fine. It was good, but it's also not enough to do it in the minors. We've seen, like you said, we've seen Will Wilson, we've seen Jones, we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I realized I completely blew that. I was talking about him versus Hoskins. That was not right. It's
either way,
are different, but he just doesn't like. With Hoskins is playing versus righties and lefties, so it's like it still fits in that way that like they're not going to bench Hoskins. For
they should for Manzardo, but that's
for Manzardo. That's a little
different story. Yeah. So that's kind of the why of why Valera's off the 40 man. I wouldn't be surprised if he clears waivers. So we'll see what
he's
happens.
A nice kid. I hope he doesn't clear waivers. I hope he gets an opportunity elsewhere.
That's true. I do too.
I'm rooting for him to get claimed.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely fair. Rough weekend for the agent, by the way. Jose and Valera share an agent. So his top client on the IL and his other client DFA'd. So that'll be very interesting to see where things go for these.
Yeah, we wish Rafa well as well.
We sure do, because that's a tough weekend for him as well. The Guardians won both games that were played against the Tigers. So for the weekend, Tanner Bibee, he's on a roll. He pitched great against the Tigers. Tanner Bibee is dominating the Tigers over the last couple of seasons. So they're probably sick of him. But he pitched really well. For everybody who wanted to crush him a while ago, it's back-to-back really good starts. And I think we're starting to see some progress in terms of different things going on with him. And the offense wasn't great Friday. They did just enough. But Tanner was Tanner, especially against the Tigers on Friday. And Joey Cantillo on Saturday, man, he outdueled. I don't want to say outdueled, but he went toe-to-toe with Tarek Skubal. I know.
One gave up 3 runs. The other gave up 1, right? Was it 2?
Yeah. He went toe-to-toe with Skubal, and I know Skubal was coming back from an rehab injury. He was on a pitch count, but he's still Tarek Skubal. His stuff was still good. It was just the execution probably wasn't the absolute best. I mean, so Joey Cantillo pitched his butt off, and for a couple weeks ago, everybody also wanted to get rid of Joey Cantillo, and his fastball velocity was down against Texas. He wasn't great against the Nationals, and he came back. His fastball velocity was up. His curveball execution and command was fantastic on Saturday. Both pitchers did enough to get the bullpen involved, and they were great over the weekend. So pitching was great over the weekend. The offense did just enough, and that's going to be the formula they're going to need going forward. The pitchers are going to have to be great. The bullpen's going to have to be great. The defense is going to have to be great, and you're going to have to score 3 or 4 runs and keep these games very close. Also, how about Saturday was the 13th, Jeff, but it wasn't Friday, but it might as well have been Friday the 13th. Explain to me how you could have the first pitch of the game, DeLauter crashes into the wall, hurts his rib cage. The first pitch to Angel Martinez, leading off the bottom of the first, fouls off his foot. Both players exit the game, and then Jose leaves the game. What do we do to deserve this?
An umpire got sick, and by reports, so did a member of security. It was just a cursed day at the field.
Oh my God! What do we do to deserve that? I have to ask. I joked on one of the videos. I said, "Did someone have a voodoo doll? Please give it back. Please don't do that."
It's like Cleveland had great injury luck all year, and it's like, nope, it's all due now today,
right? All due on Saturday the 13th. Yeah.
And then I do want to throw this out there. I do think it's interesting. Like, we know Tanner is been working on a lot of his pitches. I thought it was interesting. They talked about on the broadcast on Saturday, like Patrick Bailey's whole approach to him of 3 pitches or less to every hitter. Lean heavily on the 2 fastballs, which the 4-seam had not been really good, but I know he's worked on that and he's doing some different things with it. I really think we're seeing dividends already from Patrick Bailey catching these guys. And with Cantillo, he ditched the slider, he's added the cutter. the way they continue to take her with the pitching staff, it's like
in season, by the way,
in season, and the starting pitching is fine. Like that is not that's the strength of the team right now, in my opinion. There's still some concerns in the pen, but like it is funny for as much as people, and I've even been critical of Tanner at points. I'm guilty of that. And he only, 2 bad sinkers, both went for home runs, and that's it.
No mistakes allowed for Tanner. No mistakes allowed.
No, it's just two bad. It was 2 sinkers that both were kind of touching the middle of the zone that they got, and other than that, he was utterly fantastic. He kept them in that game. It did, 2 just dominant starts for him in a row. So yeah, it's been funny. We saw so many theories on why like Tanner was not good, or why Tanner was holding the team back, or why they were not scoring runs for Tanner. And it was all just people like to have whipping boys is what we're seeing. Like it's just that consistent thing. Yeah. People like to have.
I think it's every fan base, every team.
It is. It is. There's always guys who are disliked, but it is interesting that like Tanner. I would say the most three most disliked guys on this team based on comments are Tanner, Gabby Arias, and right now Stuart Fairchild.
Yeah. That's
so in the past, that's been Austin Hedges, which is kind of funny because now everyone the same way that like ironic. A month ago, a lot of people were clamoring to call up Fairchild because he was doing great in AAA, and this they need another outfit. It's just the Veggie
same thing.
I can't say that word, but of life.
Yeah. It was the same way for Owen Miller a couple of years ago. Remember, it was everyone wanted Owen Miller, and then hey, they're going to Milwaukee this week. How many people wanted to get rid of Jake Bowers, and Jake Bowers is now going to become an all-star, which is just wild. He is also got to give Daniel Schneemann his flowers.
Oh, a ton of flowers.
wasn't even the starting lineup. Yeah, he wasn't even the starting lineup on Saturday. He comes in to replace DeLauter. Oh, just a 2-run homer off Tarek Skubal to basically win the game. No big deal.
And no one's been colder and struggling more than him.
Yes, and he hits it off a lefty, no less. And
the best lefty in baseball.
Yeah, he plays right field. He plays center field. He plays third base, all in one game. Hopefully his back gets going. Like hopefully that's because, like I said, he's going to play more in Arias, and hopefully that gets his back going. And then Rhys Hoskins playing left field. The ball found him. The first ball, he hasn't played left field since 2018. The first ball hit to him, and that is how baseball works sometimes. Because Jose tried to go out and play third base because he knew that they were already down 2 outfielders, and he couldn't even close his glove because that's Jose. And Fry played left field in the 9th inning. They gave up the DH. So, yeah, I will say Stephen Vogt. We'll end this way. Stephen Vogt in 2024. 2 starts into the season, Shane Bieber goes out with the Tommy John surgery. He never pitches a big league game again for Cleveland. They win the division last year. You deal with the alleged betting scandal of Emmanuel Clase, your Hall of Fame closer, and your big starting pitching offseason acquisition in Luis Ortiz.
That's okay. Like I said, they're both going to play for Texas Tech.
Play for Texas Tech, yes. 15 and a half games out, you win the division. So if the Guardians perform well for the 2 months or whatever it is Jose's out for, and they win the division, you hand Stephen Vogt Manager of the Year once again. I joked with him during the fan event a couple weeks ago. I said, 3-time Manager of the Year award? He said, we have to win a lot of games for me to do that. I said, well, without Jose, they might consider it if you win the division again. So they've been through this before. They can handle it. The culture is good here, so I think they can handle it. So, Jeff, back tomorrow for one recording. We'll talk top 10 prospects of the last 10 years for Lockdown's 10-year anniversary and prospect trade tiers ahead of the trading deadline.
We want to thank you all for joining us. Rate and review. Friday was one of our best episodes ever. So thank you to everyone out there. Comment with some more positivity for Justin. I'm going to say that again because he's still beating himself up. I can tell. But thank you all for joining us. And go Guardians, go.